Hello everybody and welcome to this new episode of This Week in Tech, the format where we take all the most important tech news of the past week and we explain them in a simple format, trying to understand how they can potentially impact our society. So if you are interested in technology and want to be always up to date, subscribe to this channel and keep watching these videos. This week we have 4 pretty cool pieces of news. The first one is about fusion, nuclear fusion energy. We managed to reconstruct what happens in the sun for 5 seconds, which sounds like nothing, but it's a huge step to infinite clean energy. Then we talk about Apple introducing a new payment system that seems to open a window to cryptocurrency payments. Some stories about good stuff and bad stuff happening in NFTs. And last but not least, some fails happening in the metaverse. That being said, let's get started. We managed to replicate what happens in the sun here on planet Earth for 5 seconds. This sounds like nothing, but it's a huge breakthrough and potentially a way to bring us unlimited free clean energy. I'm super excited to try to explain you what nuclear fusion is, which is what we managed to achieve last week, because this is actually my background. I'm an energy engineer and I had an exam about nuclear physics together with the people that worked on this project, so I'm super happy to tell you everything about it. So bear with me. The main way that we use today to produce energy is by taking a source of heat, trying to generate steam using this heat, and then we push this steam into a turbine that is gonna start spinning and produce electricity. Now, the sources of heat that we've used traditionally are coal, and even trash, oil, all this kind of stuff that we have to burn. And one other source of energy that has been used to produce heat has been nuclear energy. But so far, the kind of nuclear energy that we used comes from fission. Fission is exactly what powered the nuclear bomb at Hiroshima, which I know is not a great way to introduce a technology, but this is how it works. You take an atom of uranium or plutonium or something like this, and you break it. Once you break it, a lot of energy is released that you can use to produce steam. Now, obviously, in the case of the nuclear bombs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, this reaction was not controlled. It was an explosive reaction to try to make damage. In today's nuclear power plants, this reaction is controlled so that you can have exactly the amount of heat that you need to produce steam and not more. If you make a mistake, well, you know what happens. Stuff like Chernobyl or stuff like Fukushima happens. So there are some problems around this kind of energy, especially the fact that it's something that you need to constantly slow down, constantly trying to control, and produces a lot of radioactive material. Now, nuclear fusion, instead, it's what happens in the sun. In nuclear fusion, as the term says, you take 2 atoms of hydrogen and you fuse them together to form helium and a lot of energy. This is obviously amazing because we have a lot of hydrogen in the world. It's basically free and there's very limited radiation that comes out of this process. But there's one tiny little problem. You see, atoms of hydrogen don't really want to stay together. They just don't want to. So the only way that you have to smash them and create all this energy is by heating them up a lot. When you heat them up, they start vibrating a lot, they clash into each other, and they produce all this beautiful energy that we want. But the temperatures that you need to reach in order to have this reaction are in the order of magnitude of 100 million degrees Celsius. That's an insane heat that obviously no material can hold. So the kind of technology that we have today to try to make this thing happen is something called a tokamak. Sounds super bad, but it's actually pretty cool. It has the shape of a donut, and inside this donut, you have a gas that is heated up, and it starts spinning, and it can reach this temperature of 100 million degrees because it's not touching anything. It's suspended inside this donut by using some magnets. So imagine all these magnets around these donuts. They keep the plasma. Plasma is the gas that has 100 million degrees in the center of the donut without touching anything. That's how it works. But it's super hard to do. And you need a lot of energy also to keep these magnets working so that the plasma can stay in the center. So now that you understand the basics of nuclear fusion, let's talk about this experiment. This experiment was made in a tokamak in the UK called JET. The goal of JET is to basically test some materials and some of the design choices that you need to do in order to actually make a big tokamak that is going to actually produce energy. And so the fact that they were able to keep this reaction going for 5 seconds, it's super important because it means that the materials that they've been trying to use are working, they are holding. So now they can take all these learnings from JET and apply them to a new project that is called ITER, that is being built today in France. ITER is supposed to be the first giant system that can actually produce energy, that can actually have a net positive impact of energy. Because one of the problems of JET is that it's pretty small, and all the magnets that need to keep the plasma in the center of the donut consume more energy than what you get out of the fusion. So it's just a research tool. It's something to understand what we can use on ITER. But since this test was successful, this means that the design choices for ITER are probably gonna work. And if they do, we are one step closer to unlimited free clean energy. Apple announced in a press release a new system called Tap to Pay. You probably know about Apple Pay, where you basically use your iWatch or your iPhone to pay in any store using your credit card. Well, now with Tap to Pay, you're not only going to be able to pay money, but also to receive money from your iPhone. So merchants are going to be able to give you their phone, you tap your phone on top of their phone, and money gets sent from one to the other, which is pretty cool. But there's something more. One more thing, as Steve Jobs said. Apple, in the press release, mentioned that this system is going to enable customers to pay using debit cards, credit cards, and digital wallets. Digital wallets sounds to me and to a lot of other people like Apple trying to make their first step into cryptocurrency payments. If that is true, this is huge. There are like 1 billion iPhones on the planet, and if all of these can start to pay using crypto by just smashing them together, that's going to be huge for adoption. So let's see if that digital wallets, it's actually going to mean that I'm going to be able to pay for coffee using Bitcoin. Let's talk about NFTs. If you don't know what NFTs are yet, NFTs are non-fungible tokens. This doesn't seem like it means anything. It's basically some tokens that you can buy using cryptocurrency that represent your ownership of a piece of digital art mostly. You can use it for a lot of different things, but today it's mostly used for digital art. Now, that being said, the market has been crazy. Last year, $41 billion have been spent on NFTs, and there's a lot of scams. The kind of scams that you have are the people sell NFTs that are copies of other valuable NFTs, which a lot of people don't realize and they end up wasting their money on. Other stuff that happens is that they sell malicious NFTs, so stuff that you buy and then steals all your money. There's a lot of crazy stuff happening, which led one NFT exchange called Cent to stop trading a lot of their NFTs. They basically said, hey, there are too many scams. We don't know anymore how to deal with all these issues. We're just gonna stop now and we're gonna try again once we have a solution for these issues. This is a big problem, obviously, because if we want this industry to become more solid, we need to make it easy to trust. OpenSea, the leading NFT trading platform, said that 80% of all the NFTs that are minted for free, so that they are created for free, are scams. 80%. They are either fake or they're just ways to try to steal people's money. So this is still a very hectic environment. And there was another not so good news last week in this industry. The founders of an NFT exchange platform called LooksRare decided to withdraw some of their wealth that was locked into their company's token called Looks. And they decided to take this money and basically cash out, which obviously led the value of their token to go down and lose 15%, screwing up the entire community. People were pissed at them, but I think what is fun is their response. First of all, people thought that they cashed out 70 millions roughly, and they said, hey, it's just 30 millions, plus we are 10 people now at this company, and we didn't get any salary for 6 months. Like if it's normal that somebody gets $3 million each for 6 months of work. So the founders were like, yeah, sure, hey, we deserve this money. Sure, yeah, I totally believe that people that work well and do a great job at building stuff should get money for their efforts. But that led to everybody else that believed in that system to get screwed, to lose 15% of their value. And this is kind of wild, especially considering that the founders of this platform used a system called Tornado Cash to get the money out. Now, Tornado Cash, it's a system designed to try to hide cryptocurrency payments. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of how it works, but if they use that means that they knew that what they were doing was not great, which will also make us think that they probably don't believe in the long-term value of their projects. So these are two pretty bad news. Cent that decides to stop trading because there are too many scams, and the founders of LooksRare that decide to cash out. But there was also another news in NFTs last week that I think is pretty cool and maybe even a good news. So you may have heard about the NFT company called Bored Ape Yacht Club. It's basically a company that released 10,000 NFTs of some images that are basically bored apes. I'm just going to put one here for you to look at. And these things have been bought by people like Shaquille O'Neal, Eminem, Justin Bieber. A lot of different famous people paid into this project because it's cool and because there's a great community and they believe that the price is going to go up. One thing about this project is that if you own one of these monkeys, you own the intellectual property for that monkey, which means that you can put that whatever you want. And one of the Bored Ape owners decided to put that picture as a sponsor for a new strain of weed from a company called Backpackers Boys. This new kind of weed is called Crypto Gelato, and well, it's sold out. Like they're selling a lot of this, which I think is pretty interesting because you see, by associating your brand to the Bored Ape Yacht Club, you're signaling that you're cool and that you believe in certain values, in chilling out and all these things, and consumers seem to value that. So what is an NFT? So what has some intangible value, it's actually bringing to some crazy deals and crazy business and consumer purchases in the real world, in industry that obviously feel that they're connected in some way to the crypto world, like in this case, the weed industry. This is, I think, pretty interesting, and I'm really looking forward to see what all the other ape owners are gonna do with intellectual property of their ape. Let's close with some metaverse fails and missed opportunities. Samsung decided to host one of the events to present their new Galaxy S22 in the metaverse. They decided to host it on a platform called Decentraland, where they built a virtual headquarters where people can go and visit the virtual Samsung store and see their products. There was a little problem. There were roughly 1,000 people that wanted to attend this event in the metaverse, but a lot of them struggled finding the venue. They got lost in the metaverse, basically. I guess there's no Google Maps in the metaverse yet. And when they finally found the venue, they couldn't get in. And that's because in Decentraland, there are different servers, and each server can host up to 100 people. So if you're 105, these 5 people need to find another server. Some of these servers just didn't open the doors, basically. So people have been queuing outside of the theater where the event was happening, just waiting to be let in. Then they finally got in, and the experience was just weird. The theater felt empty. It didn't feel very immersive. It was basically like a smaller screen. You had probably a better experience watching it on YouTube. Then they went out from the theater after the presentation, and I think there were a lot of missed opportunities. You couldn't see the phone. You couldn't buy it using cryptocurrency. You could basically just play some games. I think this was really a missed opportunity from Samsung, but it also tells us that the concept of the metaverse, it's really a work in progress and company still need to get some good thinking. Now there's something interesting though, which is that in March, there's gonna be a fashion week in the metaverse, in Decentraland. And I think that's gonna be an opportunity to see what we learned from this example with Samsung and see whether we can actually design some better, more fun and more engaging opportunities. Already Hugo Boss signed up and they're gonna have their fashion show in the metaverse. Let's see what other companies are gonna try to jump in the trend, and hopefully they're gonna do a better job than Samsung. Thank you for watching. If you learned something from this video, share it with your friends. And if you're one of the people that really care about technology, want to always be up to date to the new trends, follow and subscribe to this channel. You're gonna get a new video every week, and I'm gonna make sure that you never miss anything important happening in technology. Before I leave you, I wanna tell you that I started my new community programs. In these community programs, you're gonna get access not just to these videos, as well as all the research links that I had to read to know about this news, but you're also gonna get access to bi-weekly deep dives. These are 1.5 hour sessions that I do on Zoom where people can come in, listen to me speaking for 45 minutes about the most important topics in tech. I usually take just one, really dissect into the most important things and explain it well for 45 minutes, and then we participate in a conversation when together we try to understand how this new technology or this new trend is gonna impact society. I'm gonna leave the link so you can check out more information and join it if you want. I will see you next week. Ciao!